Value of a 1980 Washington silver quarter with a D mint mark, even when it's in bad condition. Stay tuned to find out just how much it's worth in today's market. The 1980 Washington quarter is part of the iconic U.S. coin series first minted in 1932. Featuring George Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, this coin was produced in both Philadelphia and Denver mints. But today, we're specifically looking at the 1980 quarter with the D mint mark, meaning it was minted in Denver now. Let's talk about the silver content. The 1980 quarter, while part of the Washington series, is not a silver coin like earlier quarters from the 1960s. Starting in 1965, the U.S. Mint switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This means that a 1980 quarter has no silver content at all. It's made of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. So, if you're hoping for a rare silver value boost like older quarters, unfortunately, this one won't give you that. But keep watching, the condition of the coin can still affect its value. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins in bad condition, meaning they're heavily worn, scratched, or even damaged, are typically worth less than those in better condition. However, in the world of coin values, even bad coins can surprise you. So, what's the value of a 1980 Washington quarter with the D mint mark in bad condition today? Well, based on current market trends, even a coin in poor shape could be worth around $3 to $5. Why? Because even in bad condition, these quarters still carry value based on their rarity and demand in the market. Even heavily worn coins are often bought by collectors looking to complete sets, or by those interested in the historical significance of the coin. Plus, there's always a bit of extra value for coins with mint marks, like this one with the D. So even though the 1980 Washington quarter with the D mint mark isn't made of silver and may be in bad shape, it still holds some value. If you find one of these coins in your collection or change jar, it's still worth taking a closer look. It might be worth more than you think. Next up, the 1984 Washington silver quarter dollar with the P mint mark in its normal damage condition state. If you have one of these in your collection or just found one in your pocket change, stick around to learn how much it's worth today. Let's get into the details of this coin. The 1984 Washington quarter was minted in Philadelphia, and it features the classic design of George Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. Now, you may be wondering, how much is a 1984 Washington silver quarter worth in today's market? Well, in normal condition with damage, we're looking at an estimated value of around $3 to $4. Keep in mind that a damaged coin means it has visible wear and tear, scratches, scuffs, or perhaps some discoloration from circulation. But don't let that fool you. Even in this condition, this silver quarter still has value because it contains 90% silver, which makes it a desirable item for collectors. Of course, the value of any coin can fluctuate depending on its condition and the market. A well-worn quarter like this one will be valued at the lower end of the spectrum, while one in mint or near-mint condition could fetch more, sometimes up to $7 to $10 or even higher, depending on demand. Even though the 1984 Washington quarter isn't considered rare, its silver content plays a role in its value. With silver prices constantly changing, the intrinsic metal value of the coin can sometimes be worth more than the coin's face value. So, to wrap things up, a 1984 Washington silver quarter in normal damage condition is generally worth between $3 to $4 in today's market. Keep an eye on the silver market, as it can shift, and you might find that these coins are worth a bit more in the future. Next up, the 1966 Washington silver quarter. Now, before you think this is just a regular quarter, stick with me. We're diving into the value of the 1966 Washington quarter without a mint mark in damage condition. Yes, you heard that right, damage condition. Let's explore just how much this coin is worth today. The Washington quarter was first minted in 1932, and by 1966, it had already become a staple in U.S. coinage. Now, the 1966 Washington quarter, just like other quarters from the mid-20th century, was made from 90% silver and 10% copper. However, it was only minted for circulation in 1966, without any special commemorative significance, and that's where it gets interesting. The key point here is that this particular coin, the 1966 quarter, doesn't have a mint mark. Why does that matter? Well, the mint mark, or lack of it, tells us which U.S. mint produced the coin. A mint mark is typically found on the obverse front side of the coin, but with this particular coin, the absence of it means it was produced in Philadelphia. And this can actually impact its rarity and value, especially when it comes to coins in damaged condition. Now, you may be wondering, how does damage affect the value of a coin? Well, damage can significantly decrease the coin's value. A coin in damage condition could be anything from scratches, dings, or even being bent. While a well-preserved 1966 Washington quarter might fetch a decent price, one in poor condition is often worth much less. As you can see here, this coin has some visible wear and tear. The value of a 1966 Washington quarter with no mint mark in this kind of damage condition can be a lot lower than you might expect, considering its silver content. Okay, let's talk about how much it's worth today. The value of a 1966 Washington silver quarter without a mint mark, even in damage condition, is largely influenced by its silver content. At today's silver prices, which hover around $25 per ounce, the quarter's intrinsic silver value alone is roughly $3 to $4. That's before we even factor in the damage. On the open market, damaged coins like this one usually sell for a little less than their full silver value. So, if you're lucky, you might see it go for around $3 to $5 depending on the extent of the damage. It's not a huge payout, but it's still more than face value. To wrap it up, while the 1966 Washington silver quarter without a mint mark might not be the most valuable coin in pristine condition, it still holds some value due to its silver content. If you happen to have one in damaged condition, it could be worth around $3 to $5 today. Not bad for a quarter that's seen some wear and tear over the years. Next up, the 1965 Washington silver quarter, and no, it's not just any quarter. This one is without a mint mark and in extra fine condition. So, how much could this coin be worth in today's market? Let's dive right into it and see what makes this coin valuable. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932, and by 1965, it was a well-established part of American coinage. However, this coin is particularly interesting for a few reasons. First, the 1965 Washington quarter was minted during a time of transition in U.S. coinage history, right when silver content was being phased out of most coins. Most importantly, in 1965, there was a significant change in the minting process. Now, this coin here, the 1965 Washington quarter, was produced in Philadelphia and doesn't have a mint mark. Why does that matter? Well, no mint mark means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which can influence its rarity and market value. Now, let's talk about extra fine condition, or XF. This is a term used by collectors to describe coins that have been well preserved, with only slight wear on the highest points of the design. In extra fine condition, you can still see all the fine details of the coin's design, but there's a bit of wear on the edges and features, which is typical for a coin that's been circulated but not excessively damaged. Coins in extra fine condition have high collectible value, especially when they come from years that saw lower mintage or when they're in good quality for their age. The 1965 Washington Quarter is one of those examples where condition makes a big difference. First, let's remember that in 1965, the Washington quarters were still made of 90% silver. The value of silver is a big factor in determining the worth of these coins. As of today, silver is priced around $25 per ounce, which gives the silver content of this quarter a base value of about $3.50 to $4. However, when it comes to a coin in extra fine condition, collectors are willing to pay a premium for the well-preserved quality and scarcity of the coin. Based on recent market trends and auction results, a 1965 Washington quarter without a mint mark in extra fine condition can fetch anywhere between $6 and $12. The higher end of that range is for coins with exceptional detail and minimal wear, coins in worse condition, such as those with moderate wear or damage, usually sell for less, closer to the silver melt value. But a coin like this, clean, crisp, and showing that extra fine condition definitely attracts collectors and is worth a lot more. So, there you have it. 1956, Abraham Wheat penny with the D mint mark. And we'll uncover just how much it's worth in today's market. So, if you've got one of these coins lying around in your collection or even in your change jar, you're going to want to stick around for this. Before we get into the current value, let's take a brief look at the history of the 1956 wheat penny. This penny, which features the iconic design by Victor David Brenner, has been a staple in American currency since 1909. The front features Abraham Lincoln, and the back shows two wheat stalks, giving it the name wheat penny. The 1956 penny is particularly interesting because of its mint mark, located on the obverse just beneath the date. The D stands for the Denver Mint, where these coins were produced. So, if you happen to have a 1956 penny with the D mint mark, you're holding on to a piece of history. But just how valuable is it? First off, let's talk about the condition of the coin. The value of any coin, especially something like the 1956 wheat penny, really depends on its grade. A coin in good condition, which means it shows clear signs of wear, but all the major features are still visible, will typically be worth a bit more than one in poor condition. When it comes to grading, a good coin is one that has noticeable wear but still retains key features like Lincoln's profile and the wheat stalks. In terms of value, a 1956 wheat penny in good condition with a D mint mark is worth approximately 10 cents to 20 cents, roughly 10 to 20 cents, depending on demand and the coin's exact wear. But if you have a 1956 D wheat penny in better condition, let's say very good or fine, then the value starts to rise. You might be looking at anywhere from 50 cents to $1, or even a bit more, depending on the specific grading and market conditions. Now, here's the exciting part. If you happen to have a really high-quality 1956 D penny, perhaps in extra fine or mint state condition, you're looking at a potential value of around $5 to $10 or more. Coins like this are rarer, and collectors love them, so the price jumps significantly when a coin is well preserved. Keep in mind, the value of your 1956 wheat penny can also fluctuate depending on market demand and the current state of coin collecting trends. Coins in pristine condition, like those with uncirculated or proof-like finishes, can fetch much higher prices. The highest values are typically seen for coins in near-perfect condition, but these are not as common. So, if you've got a 1956 D wheat penny in good condition, it might not make you rich, but it could still be a neat little treasure in your collection. And who knows? If the coin market heats up, it could be worth more in the future. Next up, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Steel penny with the D mint mark. If you've got one of these unique pennies, you might be holding on to a rare treasure. Stick around to find out just how much it's worth in today's market. Now, you might be wondering, what makes the 1943 wheat penny so special? Well, during World War II, copper was in short supply, so the U.S. Mint switched the composition of the penny to steel, coated with zinc, for 1 year only 1943. And to make it even more interesting, the 1943 penny with the D mint mark was struck at the Denver Mint. These 1943 steel pennies are quite different from the usual copper pennies. The first thing you'll notice is the color. It's a shiny, silvery steel rather than the traditional copper. And of course, the D mint mark, found just beneath the date, indicates that it was produced in Denver. So, now that we know what makes this penny unique, let's talk about its value. The worth of a 1943 D wheat steel penny depends on its condition, just like any other coin. If your 1943 D wheat penny is in fine condition, that means it shows some wear, but the details are still clear and distinct. The wheat stalks, Lincoln's profile, and other features are still well defined, though there's a bit of fading. Now, here's the exciting part. A 1943 D wheat steel penny in fine condition can fetch anywhere from $1 to $2 in today's market. While this might not seem like a huge amount, keep in mind that this penny is still sought after by collectors, and it's one of the more affordable and interesting coins from that era. If your 1943 D steel penny is in good or fair condition, the value drops a bit, usually around 50 cents to $1. This is because, as the coin deteriorates, it loses some of the finer details, which makes it less valuable to collectors. However, if you're lucky enough to have a 1943 D steel penny in very fine or extra fine condition, then you could see it worth $5 to $10 or even more, depending on the specific demand at the time. Coins in higher grades can be much rarer and more desirable. Now, if you have a 1943 D steel penny that's in mint state, meaning it's essentially flawless, and looks as though it just left the mint, then you're looking at a significant increase in value. These high-grade coins can easily be worth $20 to $40, or even higher, depending on the current market trends. While most 1943 D steel pennies aren't worth a fortune, they are highly collectible and hold historical value, especially when they're in excellent condition. And since only a limited number of these steel pennies were made during the wartime copper shortage, they're always in demand among collectors. So, if you find a 1943 D wheat steel penny in your collection, don't overlook it. With its unique history and design, it's a coin worth paying attention to. Just be sure to check the condition, as that plays a big role in determining its market value. Next up, the 1943 Lincoln penny without a mint mark is one of the most sought-after coins in the world. If you have one, you might be holding on to a small treasure. Stay tuned as we reveal its current market value and what makes it so special. During World War II, the U.S. needed copper for war production, so in 1943, the U.S. Mint switched from copper to steel for pennies. But a few leftover copper planchets from 1942 mistakenly made their way into the presses, creating the ultra-rare 1943 copper penny. Most 1943 pennies you'll find are made of steel, which gives them a silver-like appearance. But if you find one that looks like a regular copper penny, here's how to check if it's real one. The magnet test. If your penny sticks to a magnet, it's steel, not copper. The weight test. A genuine 1943 copper penny weighs 3.11 grams, while a steel penny weighs 2.7 grams. Now, let's talk value. A 1943 copper penny from the Philadelphia Mint without a mint mark can be worth an astonishing amount. Here are the latest estimated values. Good condition, $100,000 to $175,000. Extremely fine, $225,000 to $260,000. Mint state, MS64 plus, $350,000 to $390,000. Auction record, over $1 million. The final price depends on condition, grading, and collector demand. If you think you have one, get it authenticated by PCGS or NGC. Next up, the 1947 S. Lincoln Wheat penny is a cherished piece among numismatists, especially when it exhibits unique characteristics like a dark, almost black patina. But what determines its value in today's market? Let's delve into the factors that influence its worth. Minted in San Francisco, the 1947 S. penny had a production run of approximately 99 million coins. Despite this large mintage, certain features can make specific coins stand out to collectors. Coin's value. The S mint mark denotes its origin from the San Francisco Mint. While the standard 1947 S penny in circulated condition might fetch between 10 to 25 cents, the value increases with the coin's condition and unique attributes. A dark or black patina can result from natural oxidation over decades. While some collectors appreciate this unique appearance, others may prefer coins with their original luster. Therefore, the desirability and consequently the value of such a coin can vary among collectors. Professional grading significantly impacts a coin's market value. For instance, a 1947 S penny graded MS63, red-brown RB might be valued around 85 cents, while an MS65 RB could fetch approximately $2. Exceptional specimens graded MS67 red RD have been known to reach up to $205, such as the 1947 SS repunched mint mark. Add another layer of intrigue. Depending on the grade, these era coins have realized prices ranging from $69 to $552 at auctions. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coin collecting content. See you and next time, happy collecting!